constituents. So.
Thank you, Councilman Black. And like I said, all jokes aside, my concern is for our elderly residents because they do not get on the internet. They're not they're not as mobile as some of the younger residents, and this is going to cause confusion because they've been going for decades to the same spot. So I think, especially with the elderly residents, at least one mailing, which wouldn't be that much. First-class mail doesn't have to be certified, but at least one mailing, and I think that would greatly help in notifying our residents that they're going to have to go to a new spot. So thank you for your consideration.
Okay. And like, well, Matt.
All
right. Like I said, I'll work with Director Giles if you want. I think kind of go into what you're doing, what you're saying, and I think Mr. Russo talked about it earlier. It's going to take a while to do this move, at least a month. So the next water bill, post it on the water bill. That way the residents get that, and then probably the subsequent bills for the next few months, post the new address on the water bill. So we're mailing it out anyway, as opposed to sending a separate letter. Just post the new address on the back of the water bill. There's a lot of space that they can print. Water department's moving on such and such date, and it probably will give them about 2 months to do it.
Councilman Black, with all due respect, the water bill notices that go out or a little bitty card that on the front allows for no room. Sufficient, adequate notice. I would ask on behalf of the elderly residents in our community that we send out one mailing and we put something out front, important notice about change of where you pay your water bills, and it's to lessen some of the confusion that this may cause.
Yes, I would offer myself to work with the working group to make sure that the notifications are proper. I think that we might want to also allow the notification to say that they can pay online. So there are different changes, and I don't think that we should be looking for obstacles not to do this, but we should be looking for solutions to make it work.
Councilman Juno, hit it.
One more time, Councilman
Okay, I think, President Amos, I think this is a good idea because I'm one of the elderly one you're talking about, and these people are getting dangerous at that old building. We already get sued for one accident, and every day when you pass there, you can have 3 or 4 accidents because these people are not looking. They're just pulling out on Main Street and they're just pulling in. That's what they've been doing for 50 years. So it's time for them to get a new place which is safe. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? The sheet is open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
A resolution providing for an exemption for paying the ferry toll for all commissioned officers of the Plotis Parish Sheriff's Office and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Is there a second? Councilman Juno? Seconds. Questions from the table?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Roussel, then Ms. Sullivan. Mr. Roussel.
Yes, this opens up the door. We already lose millions of dollars on the operation of the ferry, and we start opening the door for everybody who, I guess, has a commission, and I'm not sure how many people that really is, but I think it's a bad precedent to set.
Salva?
I should have gone before Mr. Russell, and my point would have been taken up, I guess. But my office received a call from a parish employee that lives on the East Bank and get called out to work on weekends in the building department. And she has to pay a toll on weekend. And if she would be called out during a weekday, she would not have to pay the toll. So I was going to recommend, if in fact this legislation went forward, to add parish employees who work on a weekend to be included in here.
Rick?
If the commission item is an issue, what if we put post-certified officers? That would eliminate that.
Good. You want me to come in, Ben? Mr. Russell? There's a dialogue between Mr. Gray and Mr. Russell. Go ahead, Mr. Dan.
Yeah, that was a question, not really a question, but the statement I had is similar to what Mr. Burt just said. It's tough to just say all commissioned officers because there's multiple types of commissions. I think this resolution, is what the sheriff's office is asking, is for their prison personnel. So their prison personnel are commissioned officers through post. I think you need to definitely specify in the resolution which commissions are going to be recognized. I think it would have to be, you could amend it, by saying from paying the toll for all, either post-certified commissioned officers, or law enforcement officers. I think there's some wording that needs to be changed because this opens it up for the auxiliary, CERT, a bunch of people who carry credentials issued by the sheriff's office for emergency response type stuff, and not actually what the intent of the resolution is, which I think is for prison staff and folks going back and forth from the correctional facility, etc. So
you want to make that amendment?
I mean, I would have to. I mean,
I'm not carrying this over and over.
Yeah,
No,
no.
you come to a close, either we're going to do it or not.
I'm for it. I'm for the intent of it. I am, but I just see there's an opening here that could.
Well, go ahead and make your changes, which you have objections to.
I have to get with the parish attorney and with the attorney from the sheriff's office to make a determination on what language to put in. Because there's a specific language and find out what commissions they have. If you just say commission officers, that's a ton of people, And I don't think that's the intent.
Well, just as I stated, Mr. Councilman, the question is what you have in mind. You want to put it into the ordinance, offer your amendment. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. But if you want to make the change, you can make it now. That's why we're at the table. Now,
My point is,
all right, I understand your point. You don't want to do it. Okay.
I want to do it, but I don't know the terminology.
All right, any other, go ahead, you finish? No? All right, and who else? Next, Mr. Russell?
Yeah, my point is that it's for prison personnel and they're hauling prisoners in a vehicle from the sheriff's office. And, I mean, we've already exempted those. So what are you going to do next to exempt another group of people? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me to open the door for people that are traveling the ferry, and then the next category will be opened when we already have the categories of parish vehicles and units already passing for free. And 65 and over pass for free. So, we have categories, but once you start, I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. General?
I'll pull my second.
Okay. You pulled his second, so you want a second for comment? Okay. Break seconded for comments, okay?
What if there's language added for a uniformed officer, commissioned uniform officer? I mean, I don't know if that would make a difference, but I support the ordinance, but that's just my comment.
That's So you withdraw your second. All right. Anybody else? I offer for a second, going once, second, going twice, 3 times, one for a second. It fails for lack of a second. So withdraw it, take it off the agenda. Next item, please. Next item. Okay.
An ordinance requesting funding to inspect the Civil Service Department assigned offices 211, 214, 215, 217, and testing room at the Port Self-Government Building for conducting an indoor air quality assessment, including airborne mold spore sampling and a limited visual inspection for mold due to water leaking through the walls and onto the carpet since Hurricane Isaac, and otherwise provide respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Burke, second. Mr. Burke, question. Mr. Burke, second. The question is?
Yeah, I just have one question. Looks like this is only for a few different rooms in that building. I think if we're going to test a few rooms, we test the whole building. That's just my opinion on it, and I'll yield.
Councilmember Bartholomew,
Yes.
I wanted to let you know there's no funding source.
General fund.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, folks.
Okay.
General fund. Hey, Mr. Rousseau?
Attorney, second.
Yeah, I'm talking about you, second. All right, Mr. H. Call.
Yes, sir. Wasn't the building tested before for mold? Yeah. I thought it was tested before, and everything was clear.
We have an issue going on in that office whenever it rains. The carpet is wet from the walls, about 10 to 12 foot away from the walls. The plaster on there is like swelling within there. The water is coming in so bad that the conference room below our offices, the ceiling tile is wet underneath it. So I called maintenance to come in to inspect this. And they also called Mr. Dugas in to come in. They took pictures. I did send pictures to some of y'all that met with me in reference to that. I did get the contact information from the Ames group that had done the mold inspection here. This is only to inspect the offices that belong to my department. Also, I had an estimate to do the entire building, which was $7,830 if you were to address the entire building. But we do have something going on. Mr. Dugas had noticed behind the credenza or the hutch in the 217, room 217, the wall is actually bowing in. The paint is crumbling off of it. Y'all welcome to come in to see, you know, if you want to inspect to see what's going on.
Ken?
Councilman H. Call? Yes, sir. Comment?
Did you, my question from Mr. Dugas. The pictures that were taken, were you there, Ken, when they were taken? Or they were taken before you got there?
Which pictures?
The picture he's talking about behind the condenser with the mold, with the,
Now physically, look behind the desk, behind the credenza, and you can see the wall buckling. What's the cause of it? That needs to be investigated. And you could see darkness, discoloration on the wall. So there's something going on.
all right, it's just in that one room?
On the corner room. And I can, from personal experience, when I walked in a room, I could feel a difference with my vision. Just kind of like when you're cutting onions, you feel a little sensation. Serious. So something needs to be done. You need to at least investigate it, test something.
How long ago was the test done before?
I don't recall if it was ever tested.
I wasn't involved with that part. If you don't believe me, take a walk down to Portsoff or drive down to Portsoff and walk in the building for yourself.
Well, it's like, you know, anything else, if you don't want to be there, you can come up with all kinds of reasons and do things and what have you. You know, we had a rain event, we had horizontal rain for another 8 hours, whatever it was, for Cindy. So it probably came in from there, if there is a leak in the roofing system under the eaves. You know, but, you know, I know and majority of my colleagues know, it's just a timing issue to procrastinate going down there. So, I'm done for right now, Mr. Chair.
In my opinion, what's going on there, it's not the one rain event from this. This has been happening, the walls have been swollen since Hurricane Isaac, and it's getting larger and larger and larger.
Get a little closer to the mic.
All right. I'm sorry. I always thought that All South had handled all that because they had many buildings other than those that was leaking. And this is what I worry about. If All South was the inspector, so this building should have been taken care of by All South. Now, I know they did some work in that building when Mr. J. Freeman was in that same building. And it was leaking in that corner. Now, I don't know if it's, you know, like you said, it had started again. It probably did, because a lot of the roofs that were put on in the new buildings before we were here was leaking. So I think we should get it inspected.
Right. I mean, to my knowledge, the only thing that was done in our offices was the carpet was wet back to take that out of there, and the ceiling tiles, the suspended ceiling tiles were changed, and nothing else was done to the office. So your appreciation is greatly appreciated. You know, we'd like to provide a healthy environment, not only for our workers, but for our people that come in to do testing and to bring applications up. Thank you.
So, yes, I'd like to address this to the administration. This has been an issue that has been ongoing for some time. We've been litigating this issue. We've already got a decision that the Civil Service Department is to move down there. I'd like a commitment from the administration that they would check out the offices to make sure that they are safe, and I'd like a commitment from Civil Service as to when will you move after the determination is made that it's safe, if it is.
It's my understanding that this stuff is still at the Court of Appeals with that, and if they uphold it, you know, our plan is to move to the office, but it needs to be conditioned, you know, into a safe environment.
I know that was my question was predicated on being a safe environment. Y'all ready to move? Or you can continue to
Contingent upon
litigate?
the decision from the Court of Appeals.
So you're going to continue to litigate the appeal?
It's at the Court of Appeals presently.
There's nothing prohibiting y'all from moving, even at being at the Court of Appeal. And I'd like our attorney, please.
Can that be discussed? All right. Hold on a second.
Yeah, what number are you?
Okay, just to clarify, they are appealing the decision of Judge Connor. However, y'all passed an ordinance. They sued asking the court to rule that ordinance invalid. They lost that lawsuit. The ordinance is valid. There is no suspension of the ordinance. There was no injunction entered onto the ordinance. The ordinance has been valid since y'all adopted it. At this point, there has been no ruling by any court invalidating that ordinance. Now, they are appealing Judge Connor's ruling, but they will have to get the Court of Appeals to overturn Judge Connor's ruling. It's not a situation where we sued them and they got a suspension of Judge Connor's rule. That's not the situation here. I've actually discussed this with Mr. Barbie. I think he agrees with what the current legal status of that ordinance is.
So, going back to my question, I'm in the queue, I'm on. You didn't knock me off.
No, you turned yourself off. You knocked yourself off. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You got me going, sir. So anyway, my point is this, that if we can get a commitment from the administration to determine whether or not the building is safe, and it is safe, will the administration assist in moving your office, and will you assist in being moved?
It's my understanding that we were to wait until the Court of Appeals ruling, but we were still going to the Port Suffolk office, opening that office also, until we had the inspection done, between maintenance and engineering. The commission has ordered us not to go to that building under those circumstances.
Well, I agree with the fact that we got to make sure that it's a safe and healthy building.
Correct.
I disagree with the argument about waiting to move. And so, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, but I would like our attorney to look at all possible actions that be taken against the board for failing to move.
Next, Mr. Black.
Yeah, I have a couple things. Just to dovetail on Mr. Russo's comments, I would encourage the administration, based on what our special counsel has informed the council of their obligations and authority, to get them moved, period. After this thing is deemed to be suitable. I think this has become just ridiculous. Anyway, I'll move on from that. I would ask that if we spend these funds, I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to be, but if we're just doing the civil service section, in the expense report under 535.2595, which is civil services general fund, that the funds be removed from that particular fund site. They have quite a few line items that haven't even been touched this year to cover the cost of the testing, as opposed to just removing it from the general fund, but non-specific. We can remove it from one of the line items in the civil services fund. There's a couple. I just need to know how much we need, and then I could either ask for finance's recommendation or make my own. But is that, Mr. Bartholomew had already added in general fund. Would you allow me to amend it to the specific fund line item?
Yeah, let me withdraw. Charlie withdraw his second, so we offer with the changes. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple of questions on the changes. How much do we need?
I don't know how much.
So 1,800 is what's in the ordinance?
Yeah, but I don't know what else you want to do.
No, I just want to add where is it coming from, and I'm going to give you a specific line item.
You really don't have to make an appropriation. All she was doing was moving it to professional services. It's within the operating budget now. So there's no sense to move it from one line item to another line item within the budget.
No, what I'm saying is,
You see what I'm saying? It's in your operating budget. It's just a line item. And civil services budget goes by the bottom line, not line for line.
it's coming from civil services budget, the 1,800?
You don't need to move money if that's where you're going to take it from. You don't need to
I'm saying,
appropriate it.
so you don't have to do anything, you can come out of professional service in your budget, right?
Well, right now, it's just, if the administration decides, they can take it from wherever they want.
Yeah,
I want to make it specific that it comes from civil service. You know what I mean?
Professional
So
service.
I don't want to even give and I'm going to take it off of their hands,
Yeah.
burden,
Right.
make a decision where it comes from. We'll make the decision. I'll tell you right now, we'll come from a specific line item.
She says you come from professional service, through civil service, professional service, right?
My question is if it's to repair the building, why isn't it out of the buildings fund? Because I'm tight with my budget as it is. You know, there's things that I'm gonna have to buy between now and the end of the year that I've been holding out on, you know, to make my budget.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I have a question. You're saying that this has been an ongoing issue since Hurricane Isaac, which was in 2012. Why is this just now being brought to the attention?
He's saying that there have been issues with this building, and it's just been, oh, there's nothing there, oh, there's nothing there.
Well, have you ever gotten the police to go down there and look at it until now?
I called them, and I actually got a work order from buildings, which is why they went in there to the office.
So it took-
But I have complained about this
to get your work
since Hurricane Isaac. We've been saying that this office is getting wet and the walls are swollen, and it's never been repaired since Hurricane Isaac.
Okay, I was just trying to find out why it's taking so long. That was my issue.
And it's worse and worse. It's getting worse and worse.
And it's limited to just one room or
I
all
think Miss
four?
Audrey has some going on in her office. She's got some of the plaster that's coming up, but it's worse in the north corner of the building. You know, but my thing is this shouldn't come out of my budget. This is a building that's charged to the parish government. It should come out of your funds. It should, or be come out of the buildings department.
I'm done.
This is amazing to me when you say take it out of your funds. Do you realize who funds your office?
Well, the
Do you realize who funds your office?
appropriation for the civil service department.
Yes, do you realize where those
Yes, I
funds
know where it comes from, and
So-
I know y'all are in charge of the building, so it actually, y'all should be responsible for repairing the building.
And we are, and we decided to take it from your budget.
So be it.
Thank you.
Just cancel me out.
Yeah, I'm ready for the changes. I removed the entire line 28, the entire line of 29, remove 5, on line 30, remove 532.001 professional services general in order, and then, remove to conduct as well, and insert before and indoor quality, insert authorizing and directing and indoor air quality, and then it goes, then it continues on. So I'll offer those changes.
We're going on the changes, right? Vote on the changes. Machine is open. Yeah, machine is open. A1. I hit the wrong button. Reconsideration. No. All right, here we go. Let's go. Machine is open. Yeah, that's pulling the trigger. I hit it twice. Machine is open. Nine zero. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 manpower structure and operating budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew,
I offer
with changes.
with changes. Would you please read the changes?
The changes are on line 27, inserting the dollar amount $26,780. I'm sorry, that was line 37. On line 39, salary and wages, inserting the dollar amount $19,610. On line 40 for FICA taxes, inserting $280. On line 41, retirement, inserting $2,550. And on line 42, inserting $4,340. And on line 44, total fund of $26,780.
Offer with those changes. Is there a second? Councilman Lepine, you second? Councilman Lepine? Second. Okay. Ms. Williams?
Yes, what's the funding source?
General fund, it doesn't state one, so it will come out of the general fund if you don't state where you want the funding source to come from.
Okay, just wanted to know where the funding is. Thank you.
Bert?
Ms. Barrios, can you come give us an explanation on these two positions, please, before we go?
Yes, I would like to read a letter from our council chairperson, which is an explanation. The Civil Service Commission would like your consideration with the funding the additional positions in the Civil Service Department. The office was reduced by half, and currently only the Director and Civil Service Administrator are funded and the positions occupied. The department has had an increase in workload and has not been able to keep up with all the responsibilities and requirements of the civil service system in order to operate efficiently and effectively in accordance with the Louisiana State Constitution, Article 10, Section 6C, and Section 13B. The Commission also anticipates additional shortage of an employee with an expected absence of an employee under the protection of the Family Medical Leave Act. The absence of the employee will reduce the department down to a single employee, and the department will only be able to address only the most critical services. We understand the financial difficulties at this time, but also see that since January 2017, the parish government has laid off 19 additional employees. The parish council has funded 53 positions and made an exception to the hiring freeze to unfreeze 86 positions in order to be filled. These actions have greatly increased the normal workload of the department. Please let us work together to develop a strong partnership with administration to be able to fill the needed positions and get our parish back on its feet. Your cooperation is appreciated. Sincerely, Deanna Jurisic, Commissioner. And as I had touched earlier, in reference to the stuff with the meter reader, we have a lot of positions and vacancies that's being requested to advertise. Our normal advertisements that we do within a year without a freeze on is about 100. So for this year, we've advertised 54. At least 10 of those right now are up until filled. We have had 22 personnel file requests. And in order to get these personnel files together, we have the absence of the scanning clerk in there. We've got boxes of files that have to be filed. It takes us a half a day to go through page by page in boxes to ensure that all of the personnel records are included in the records that's being subpoenaed. We've had 40 public requests for information. We've had 33 verifications of employment. This is timely. It has to be done right away. People are pending loans for houses and different things like that. We've had quite a number of donation of sick leave to be processed. So for this year, we've had a total of 84 transactions. The total hours transferred is 5,558.06 hours, which is equivalent to 643.26 days. The normal employee only works 2,080 hours per year. The amount of money that has been approved, or the amount of hours that has been approved just for donation, could have funded 2.68 employees within the manpower. We have completed 22 new hires this year, 10 promotions, 1 transfer, 2 reinstatements, and like I said, there again, We've had 86 positions that have been unfrozen since the beginning of the year. 53 positions were funded in the budget since the beginning of the year, and 54 of those advertisements. So our work is not slowing down, and we have half the manpower to get it done. We're trying our best, and we would just truly like your consideration to fund these positions to help us out in order to get things moving along so that we can get tractor drivers and meter readers and 911 operators.
Excuse me, Councilman, Lapine has withdrawn his second.
Okay.
So is there a second? Going once, is there a second? Going twice, a second?
I'll second this,
Okay, Councilman Black, on your,
Yeah, I'll second the discussion here, because I want to point out a couple of issues, because I know this is not just going to die off, I'm going to continue to get emails and meetings about it, whatever. We have a pending lawsuit, am I correct, with the Civil Service Administrator position? So if we fund that position again, how's that going to affect the lawsuit?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I mean, that's something we need to look into. And is this an additional position to the one we have now, the Civil Service Administrator position?
That would be a second administrative.
So it's not going to temporarily replace the Civil Service Administrator going out on FMLA, right?
No, it would not.
So you want a second one?
This would be the one that actually does the advertisements and the certification and run the background checks.
All right, so what does the current Civil Service Administrator do?
She does the compensation. She ensures that the merit evaluations are completed, any payroll changes in the computer system. She's more on the financial side and the budgetary side with the positions.
All right. Does legal have any opinion on this as far as that civil service lawsuit goes with creating a position, a civil service, or refunding a civil service administrator position, the same position in which someone is suing us over? I mean, I would think that, I mean, have you even consulted with Mr. Barbay?
Not with Mr. Barbay, but I
Okay.
did present this to our commission and our attorneys.
I would suggest going through Mr. Barbay, because Mr. Barbay is the parish attorney who works for the parish president, who you work for too. And I'm sorry for being condescending about this, but I continue to hear that civil service is kind of their own entity. And you know, I don't know, it bothers me. I'm going to stop right above my head. I see Mr. Burt took it off the queue, so I'm going to withdraw my second.
is there a second? Is there a second? It dies for a lack of a second. Next, please.
An ordinance to approve the amended pay plan and classification schedule adopted by the Civil Service Commission on August 3rd, 2017, creating classification of project manager and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Second with Councilman Burt. Councilman Burt, comments?
No, I've spoke to Mr. Dugas in reference to this. Having been in those types of positions before, I think having a project manager within your organization has its values. And like I said, I will be supporting this ordinance legislation. My understanding is this creates the position and does not fund it at this current time. That's all, sir.
Audience, sheet is open. It passes 8-0.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one no vote. Councilman H. I know he's out, so no vote. That's what it registered.
By the way, I wanted
It registered with no vote.
it's awfully dark outside this room when you walk outside.
Yeah, the lights.
He voted. So it was up there, so he voted in his head. If you wouldn't have been, sure that's what happened. But because he's here. He's here. Yeah, he just Next, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the council chairman on behalf of the entire council to sign all invoices received by the council secretary's office and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Is that second? Is that, oh, okay, oh, the queue, go there. I like the queue. What's name? All right. You want a question from the audience? The machine is over. Oh, the queue. The queue. Eight yes, 1 no. Huh? You have your, all right. Next item, please.
An ordinance to reestablish the Department of Economic Development.
Deferred by Charlie Burke, deferred. Mr. Burke? Let's take your time.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
Williams?
6C.
That I'll offer with the changes that were passed out previously.
Go ahead.
I'll offer with the changes that were passed out previously.
Mr. Russo, second. Mr. Russo, second. Ms. Wade?
I'll read the changes. On line 12, we are scratching out and a total 2017 designation of fund balance for the BP settlement in the amount of $18,564,943, and we're adding less attorney fees. We are striking out lines 25 through 31, and on line 34, we're removing $18,564,943, I mean 18 million, I'm sorry, 564,943, and replacing it with 25 million. And with these changes, I offer Mr. Russo. What this is doing is this is just establishing the BP settlement money into a specific fund.
Russo? I second. No, you have comments? No? Audience? Machine is open. You can tell it's getting late. No comments.
I didn't vote.
Somebody.
It's not showing up. Okay, it's going now.
I'm not showing up yet.
Everybody please vote. Make sure you did.
Better vote again, man.
One more pen.
One more. Who's going to vote? Charlie, you tell me?
No, I'm not voting, so it must be me.
Yes, it can. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, regulatory upgrades, capacity increase, Bell Chase WTP project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
Ms. Williams.
I offer.
Michelle, you second. Mr. Russo, second. Mr. Russo, comment? Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the improvements and the upgrades and increase to the Bell Chase water treatment plant that is much needed in order to be able to provide water to the entire parish. There's the total project cost is $12 million. We're going to utilize $9 million from the BP settlement and $3 million from the waterworks fund to fund this project.
Rousseau?
Yes, as you know, we've been dealing with this for several years now, trying to find a source to be able to upgrade the Belle Chase water plant so we could sell more water and good quality water, so we don't have to rely on Jefferson Parish or other areas. And I think that this is an important project to invest this one-time funding BP money into, because of the fact that the Port Sulphur water plant will wind up being a booster station, and the southern end of the parish will suffer greatly if we do not have the capacity to pump water to the southern end and have a decent water pressure to be able to fight fires. So with that saying, I want to thank Ms. Williams and ask you for your support.
Mr. Burke?
I would also like to thank Ms. Williams for the introduction of the legislation, and this is a prime example for one-time monies for capital projects for the BP funding. Thank you.
Black?
Yeah, I just want to make clarification that this is an appropriation of BP funds, therefore it requires a 2/3 vote. Is that correct, Dan?
Yes.
Thank you.
It didn't take care of the whole parish. It took care of the West Bank, Plaquemine Parish. We are on the East Bank, that's where I'm from, and we have a water plant that is need to be improved upon. It's outdated, and plus we have a lot of buildings going up to be elevated, 2 stories, 3 stories, and we won't have the water pressure to fight fires. So I hope in the future that we also address the needs of those those water plants on the East Bank, because they really need to be renovated as well. That's the only comment I have to say. I'm in favor of doing this because it's desperately needed for the people on the West Bank. But just as I will vote for the West Bank, I'm hoping that the West Bank will realize that they need to do the same thing to the East Bank. Mr. Roussel.
Yes, Mr. Batoumi, as you said, the water plants on the East Bank need to be upgraded or something. I would suggest that we have a look at the possibility of maybe perhaps boring under the river and supplying water from one plant. The cost may be equally or less. We've done in other parishes to where you actually are manufacturing water at one plant and pumping it under the river to supply the other side of the river, which happens up in St. James Parish and other parishes. It works quite well. So before we jump into upgrading any plants on the East Bank, knowing that it's very vulnerable to storms and those type of things, we should look at possibly looking at some alternatives. And I'm not saying that is the answer, but it's a possibility that we should at least consider.
No matter what, Mr. Roussel, we have to live on the East Bank, whether storm or no storm. And it's the West Bank is not isolated from storms, believe me. It's just a matter of time for something to happen. Now, pray to God it doesn't happen. But as you're vulnerable, just like everybody else is, for storm surge and storm and hurricanes. Because the lower end, I think, had more storm damage than the East Bank as a whole, because of devastation. They had several storms just to wipe out the lower West Bank. So I just don't like that kind of stuff, because then it shows that we are being totally indifferent about and not trying to accommodate what we know that needs to be done. And everybody knows that the water is not the best of water. When I'm saying about the best of water, we need to upgrade the facilities, because the plants are outdated, without a doubt. And if you think it's not, we'll get a higher engineer from you to tell us so again. And that was already established. So that's all I'm saying. All right. Wait, I gotta get this thing first. Go ahead. Administration, then Mr. Roussel.
Yes, administration supports this water project. As stated last time, we think that there's more, could be better ways to finance this. because of the 3-to-1 ratio of matching funds. There was, I think, spent several $1,000s spent on a study with USDA, but I won't belabor that point. This is a good project, needs to go forward. I would, there was a statement made by someone, I just want to clarify the record. We all had a long debate here in which the parish attorney, pursuant to the charter section 5.02, was asked about the lawsuits. But when I think it was Councilman Black who just brought up, the legal question about interpreting the charter, the parish attorney was not asked. And so I just wanted to note that for the record.
Yes, with all due respect, I've been having this item on the agenda for probably a year and a half now, asking the administration to provide some type of funding for this project. And it's on the agenda today, which I'm going to take it off after today, after a year and a half of asking that question, because of the fact that we are going to put this funding up. And I would encourage, if you have the answer to that question about where the funding would come from, in the grants or the loans, which I'm opposed to. We've had a year and a half to discuss it, and I know you've only been here 9 months, so before you jump up, give you 9 months then to take care of it, and since not, we're going to move in this direction, ask for your support. The second thing is that, Mr. Batalmi, I was not trying to make light of the East Bank eating clean water. I was just trying to give you an alternative. Probably would have been a safer alternative, in my opinion, by being able to pump water over the river, under the river, actually. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, in light of that comment, it's my understanding when we increase this capacity to what we're going to increase it to, I think that it will be able to supply the East Bank as well. That's my understanding.
There's nothing wrong with getting the water there, but it's the process of getting it delivered. We don't have the capacity of the pumps to be able to handle a volume of water that would be needed. So that's what I'm saying. When we're talking about upgrading, you have to upgrade the system. I think it's a great idea if we can make enough water to supply the whole parish. You know, I don't have a problem with that, but the idea is that we can have the water, but we won't be able to move it. So we need to upgrade the facility to make sure that we can provide the services of a delivery. And I think it's a good idea if we can float it across that river. It'd be great. I don't have a problem with that. Solomon?
Yes, I just want to echo the comment that Ms. Williams just made. She said she thinks that it could be, her understanding that it could be a workable situation, but it wasn't a consideration. So, you know, that would raise a red flag for me that it wasn't considered to be a part of your legislation. But I agree with Mr. Bartholomew. As long as the East Bank would be accommodated, I would not have a problem with that recommendation that Mr. Roussel gave, but it just raises an awareness in my head that it wasn't even a consideration.
Sway?
Yeah, our legislation doesn't specify specific areas of the parish. It just says upgrades to the Belchase water treatment project. And it's part of the master plan that was given to the Department of Health and Hospitals that this project will be able to supply water to the entire parish, including East Bank and West Bank.
True enough.
Thank you for your clarity.
Comments from the audience? Sheena, so? Oh, excuse me, hold up. Hold up. Yeah.
What's the completion on this? What's the time frame? You got the money now.
Mr. Williams?
I'm not exactly sure of the time frame, Mr. Henry.
Well, you just throwing the money out there.
No, it's not. You have to start somewhere, sir.
But when you do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Complete the whole deal.
That's That's,
The people don't know what's happening.
that's the
You
intent.
know, you're spending the money, but are you spending the money the way it should be spent?
Absolutely, that's
You
the
know?
intent.
I think it should have been thought a little bit, like Vinny a long time to do it, so all that should have been done. You should have known how long this was gonna take to get done, you know?
Robert Morgan, do you have that answer?
Yeah, I think from start to completion, they said from 18 months to like 27, yeah, like 27 months. But it's been
Come to the mic,
Robert. It has been engineered, so the design should be fairly complete. Cal Associates did design, I think it's like 18 to 20 something months to completion. Oh, yeah, construction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate on that the engineering plans have been sitting on the shelf for quite a long time, so I think that the project is being done properly. Once the engineering firm realizes or is informed that we have the funding in place, they can go out and finalize the specs and bids, and we will be on our way. And we get the water department moved over here in this building, and people can pay their bills here.
Any question from the audience? Seat is open. Passes 9-0. Next, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? It died for a lack of function. I'm sorry, he's gone, I didn't see you. Mr. H.
Second, sir.
I know you didn't comment.
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Russo.
Yes, this is as close as we're going to get, in my opinion, to spending one-time funds on operational and continuing expenses. What this does takes money out of the BP settlement fund to cover the shortfall for 2017 in the operating budget. I believe this is a last resort. I don't see any other way we can make up the $5 million between now and the end of the year to cover the shortfall. And if the administration or anyone else has a better idea, I'm all ears. But this is a true shortfall because of the revenue decline stated inside the body of this ordinance. So it should be known to everybody that, we are having to use BP funds in this ordinance to balance our budget for 2017 due to a lack of revenue. And I would encourage the administration to be cognizant of that when they prepare the budget for 2017 that they're going to give us by November the 1st, to realize that this $5 million hole has to be plugged for the 2018 budget if we are going to maintain the same level of spending that we have done in 2017. And that's been my reluctance to move forward with putting $1 million or $2 million worth of expenses of payroll back into the budget, knowing that this $5 million shortfall is sitting there waiting for us. So, with that said, I don't know how the rest of the body feels, but I believe that's a fair statement of what we're getting ready to consider. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, Mr. Russo, thank you for all those comments, but I think I'm going to defer this because this was only through July. No, this is the only reason. This amount was only through July. There's additional revenue that we're going to have to make up for, and I think the number might be a little higher. So I'm going to defer this item.
Okay, that's been deferred. Ms. Williams, next item, please. I know.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
Williams. William offers. The second. H-Con, second? All right. Second by Councilman H-Con. All right, Ms. Williams.
This is replacing a pump station operator who was out on medical leave and was advised not to return back to work. He has not been on the payroll since August 17. So this is a vacant funded position currently.
Councilman H-Con?
I'm good, sir.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I have a question. On some of these pump station operator positions, and I see Ellen Civil Service has left already, but on the job, on the advertisement on these, and I'm voting for this, but on the job advertisement, it states that the applicant must live in, and it says, like Belchase, Dayman, Port Sutton, but I'm assuming that the reason why it says that is because that's where the pump is located. But I mean, like for instance, if you live in Dayvan and that's where the pump's at, or you live in Point LaHash and the pump's in Dayvan, I mean, you're talking about across the street. So if you don't live in Dayvan, you can get a job if you live in Point LaHash. I think that needs to be looked at because I think we're limiting ourselves to who we can hire at that point, if you only put those specific cities within the parish. You know, I want to vote for this, I'm going to vote for it, because we need to fill it, but I would just talk to civil service that when they advertise it, just must live within the parish, as opposed to these specific cities, because it almost looks like, you know, you're only looking for certain individuals too, so. That's all I did.
Well, you know we don't have a bridge. So I don't know how you're going to get across that Mississippi River to go to pump water on the East Bank. Or if you live on the East Bank, how you can come across and pump water on the West Bank. It just don't happen that way. So wherever the need is, I think that's where it needs to be addressed. Because it just does not even logical to have a water plant a pump station operator on the West Bank. Because you're all through the night, those people have to get up and go service these pump stations, have to pump water. So it's not a given time what you need to have. So to me, it make more sense that wherever you're trying to get that position filled, you put it in that area. That's just my comment. Councilman Black? I'm sorry. Councilman, what's wrong with it? There you go.
All right, Mr. President, then maybe you can just put any pump station operator that's going to fill a pump on the West Bank, be from the West Bank apply.
There you go.
From East Bank, be from East Bank.
That's the way I would do that.
All right, there you go. Compromise.
That don't make sense. Question has been called. I'm sorry, Mr. Juno. Mr. Juno, go ahead.
I don't say much, but I'd say this is discrimination.
Yeah.
I think if you live anywhere, you should be hired as a pump operator, and if you want to work, you'll get to work on time. That's the way I feel.
Well, I don't know how you're going to pump after 10:30, 11 o'clock at night on the West. I don't see that happen.
No, this is a regular replacement.
Where you replacing the pump operator?
In Brookfield, sir.
Oh, okay. See, that's a West Bank thing. You know, that's a no-brainer. That would be on the West Bank. Make sure you don't hire somebody from the West Bank, please. Don't get the East Bank to go, because that's not going to work. It passes 9-0.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan by appropriating $6,800 to the ATV Off-Road Park South Plaquemines project and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
I offer.
Williams, H-Com, second. H-Com, any comments? Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Go ahead.
this is a grant, additional funding to complete the ATV park, the South Plaquemines ATV Off-Road Park. It's a grant in the amount of $6,800 from the Wilmington Recreational Trails Program. That's it.
Question from the audience? Machine is open. Passes 9-0. Next, please. New business, introductions being, resolution where suspension is being controlled.
A resolution to authorize Daniel P. Garrett III to take such actions as are reasonable and prudent to seek redress of the issue of the impact of LRS 47:337.102 I-1 on electorally dedicated local sales and use taxes levied by the Biloxi Parish Council and to provide for related matters. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer with the suspension, this was passed out. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second by Mr. Rousseau, okay. All right. Legal has a question?
I can just to explain what this is. Act 274, adopted by the legislature, did a couple of things, but it created this entity, this sort of pseudo-state entity called the Louisiana Uniform Local Sales Tax Board. But the difficulty is in the manner in which they funded it. It is a separate political subdivision of the state, but the act calls for it to be funded by dedicating or diverting a percentage of existing local sales taxes statewide. Your sales tax is dedicated to a specific use, and that poses a constitutional question as to whether or not the legislature can change the use of sales taxes that were dedicated to a certain use by the voters of Plaquemine Parish. And I spoke with the Attorney General's office, actually attempted to seek an Attorney General's opinion on the issue, and they actually recommended that the issue needed to be handled through a declaratory judgment. I actually have two other clients that want to join in with you to do this to minimize the costs. West Feliciana Parish Government as well as St. James Parish School Board both authorized to enter into this. In conversations with the Parish Attorney's Office, there was an indication that they may want the Plaquemine Parish Government to also be a party in this matter. I've provided the pleadings to the Parish Legal Department so they can take a look at them to make sure we don't have any conflict of interest. I would represent the council, and they would represent the Plaquemine Parish Government if they so choose to join in. He just held it up. In their sign, so they've joined in. So if y'all vote to do this, the goal would be to file this on Friday. It does have a preliminary injunction in it, and the reason being is because I learned that the Office of Motor Vehicles has already begun withholding from every parish in the state the percentage called for in the act, and they're holding it in escrow until this board is ready to get up and running. And so we were going to ask that the court in Baton Rouge, which is where we'll have to file it, enjoin the Office of Motor Vehicles from giving any of that money away, because if they do, we'll never see it again, and then ask them to rule on the constitutionality of just this provision of the act. We're not trying to kill the whole thing, but we are trying to protect the funding. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
At this time, we'll vote on the suspension. Since you heard the introduction, what it's all about. Now machine is open for the vote on the suspension of the rules to take this matter up to date. It passes 9-0. Now, questions from the table? Anybody have any questions? Audience, machine is open. On the resolution. Passes 9-0. Next item, please. Mr. Rousseau.
Update.
Excuse me. Mr. Rousseau had a suspension, he said. He has.
I'd like to seek a resolution to suspend the rules today to add to the agenda and for action to authorize the special counsel to the Plaquemines Parish Council to seek a declaratory judgment with regard to the disputed issues between the Plaquemines Parish Council and the Plaquemines Parish President and Parish Attorney in regard to various provisions of the Plaquemines Parish Home Rule Charter, and ask for that suspension.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Burton. Okay, we are voting on a suspension. It passes 9-0. Mr. Rousseau? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, this issue has been lingering for several weeks now, and I think that the answer would be best settled in a court of law to get a declaratory judgment to determine where we're headed. I don't think it's prudent for us to keep this issue around every meeting, and this is one of the best ways that I believe we can handle this. So, again, a resolution to authorize special counsel to the Plaquemines Parish Council to seek a declaratory judgment with regard to disputes between the Plaquemines Parish Council and the Plaquemines Parish President and Parish Attorney in regard to various provisions of the Plaquemines Parish Home Rule Charter, and so offer.
Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Introduce it, pass it, second.
A second.
Thank you, Mr.
Let's vote on the... Yeah, no, we want to suspend, so you second, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Councilman Black, this goes to, and Councilman Lapine, this goes to the exact issue that both of you raised just a little while ago, which is that's the reason why I requested an Attorney General opinion is this is the most cost-efficient way to resolve this matter. This is what exactly a charter means on this. Councilman Black and Councilman Lapine, you both raised the issue of not wanting to engage in litigation because of the cost of litigation. But, there's no need to run up a bill on this because we can let the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana decide. So that's my only point.
Not yet, Mr. Russo. I've been lectured by this administration and some other folks that an Attorney General opinion is just an opinion. Because I've had Attorney General, Mr. Landry laughing because he was probably one of the ones that told me a couple times. So, there we go. It's just an opinion. This judgment is going to be binding. It's something that we need to get resolved. We obviously could not resolve anything in executive session. I mean, you saw that, but I think you have enough counsel in-house that will be able to argue your case, and I think we have the funds available already appropriated for Mr. Garrett to argue our case. So it's no new appropriations of funds, no new spending of funds, but it's something that we don't want to do. You know, if you would withdraw or concede to the fact that the council has that authority, I'm sure Mr. Russo will withdraw his ordinance, his resolution, but that's not going to happen, so that's where we're at.
And your comments are noted, Councilman Black. It's the heat of the difference is that an ordinance is voted on by this council. The charter is voted on and was voted on by the people of Plaquemines. And so that's why, but I mean, it can certainly be decided by a judge. That's just the most cost-effective way of doing it the way this administration chose to do it was let the Louisiana Attorney General decide the issue. But if you want to spend the money, that's clear.
Well, you know, in light of those comments, we haven't even been afforded the opportunity to read the Attorney General opinion request. And as you know, I mentioned that to you, and in my experiences, a lot of opinions come down depending on how you ask the question. And since we haven't even seen your question, I believe that this is probably a prudent way to do it as well, because it doesn't seem like we're going to make any progress until we get to that point, that judgment day. Thank you, and I ask you for support.
Councilman Black?
No, I mean, I was exactly what I was going to ask you. Do you have a copy of the Attorney General's opinion that we can read for the public to understand what's going on, or no?
I have no problem making that available. As stated in my status report let's see, how many hours ago? 5 or 6 hours ago. This was a 3-week session. There was a lot going on, including 2 hurricanes, and it's not that we're being don't want to share information. It's just it's busy. We've been busy. We've been working hard, and so we certainly don't mind sharing that with you.
Comments from the table? Audience? Session is open. I'm sorry.
Would you tell the public what some of the disputes are? You're keeping the public in thought. What are all the disputes? Bad at it. The public needs to know. You know. I'm waiting on it.
Kind of hold on.
He's trying to turn you on.
Press this up. All right.
Yeah, just to add for clarity, the primary dispute surrounds Ordinance 17-67, which was when the council voted to impose a supermajority requirement on taking money out of the BP fund. The idea being, and to be clear, the council had done this back in 2008 with some other one-time money, so they were kind of following suit. That ordinance was vetoed. That veto was overridden by a supermajority. And then the parish attorney and I have just a difference of opinion as to the validity of that ordinance. Now, it was passed, so it's presumed valid. Then there was an ordinance, if you'll recall, back on August 10th, Ordinance 17-101, and as part of that ordinance, it had an element where it did move money out of the BP fund, and it received 5 votes, not the 6 votes called for in 1767. So then after the next meeting on August 24th, there arose a dispute as to whether or not Ordinance 17-101, even though recorded in the minutes as failed because it didn't get the 2/3, was considered passed by the parish attorney. And so we're kind of in limbo that there's one ordinance that the parish attorney doesn't believe is valid. I disagree. There's one ordinance that the council ruled has failed, but the parish attorney believes passed. And it's just an honest disagreement, a legal opinion, and this just seems like the best way to resolve it. So that they will know going forward what the relative authority is to do this sort of thing and impose that supermajority requirement on themselves. Be happy to answer any other questions.
For me, go ahead.
Mr. Henry, your instincts are dead on as usual. What's really going on, well, that's a fair elucidation of the legal issues. But the reason why the suspension was being sought today, and the reason why this rush to file a lawsuit, even though there's a lot of people that talk about concern for spending, is because if they pass this resolution today, then that's most likely going to mean that the Louisiana Attorney General, Mr. Landrieu, will not answer it. So that's the real reason for the rush, is instead of waiting for the Attorney General to have a decision, which you could still file suit and spend that money later on down the road, that's what's at stake.
The people need to know, that's all.
Thank you for the question.
Question has been called for. Proceed as ordered. 9-0. Before we move any further on the agenda, I'd like to defer D. Anybody else want to defer anything? I'm sorry? E is deferred. Anybody else? M is deferred. Huh? M? Anybody else? H. Anybody else? F is deferred. Anybody else? J is withdrawn. J, I have J and K. I have those out. I is what? Withdrawn. Okay. C is withdrawn. Okay. Anybody else? Any other thing?
I didn't hear anything. Can we just go to the machine and do it?
Charlie? Excuse me. Charlie?
I'm going to defer M. The residents never showed up today.
M is deferred. All right. Black?
Deferring E.
All right. Sit. Councilman Lepine?
I will defer 7F and withdraw 7I.
Okay. H call?
For H, 7H.
Okay. Mr. Roussel?
Yes, in the brevity of time, I will withdraw C because of the appropriation and defer the levy breach after action report in hopes that the administration at the next meeting will provide us with the contracts and a good after action report. So I will defer G.
Okay. That's it?
I do have any comments.
That's all right. I want to do, I'm going to do this. District 1, B, D. I'm going to defer D. Okay. So we have B, the solvent. D, yeah, B.
Update presentation by District 7, Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
You know, just for the purpose of speaking to my constituency, Mr. Cormier kind of touched on everything that I wanted to say. I was prepared to discuss the Lake Hermitage, an update on the Lake Hermitage Road and the Port Telfair Library, which has been advertised. These are two major, long-awaited projects in my district, and they finally got legs and beginning to move. So I want to thank the administration for all of their efforts, and I just want to thank everybody that's been involved to make these projects move forward. And I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Roussel?
Yes, on item L, the discussion of construction of the courthouse, I wanted to point this out to the administration, and hopefully, and I see the engineering department is gone, but it's come to my attention that the electronic system that we're enjoying today in this chamber is not going to be compatible or similar to the one that is going to be installed in the courthouse. Now, that concerns a lot of us. As you can see, we come here and we learn this system and we are compatible. And I'm hoping that since the slab hasn't even been poured on the courthouse in Point LaHash yet, that you can get the engineering firm Linfield Hunter Jr. in the room and make them make the change orders to be able to be compatible with this system. So we will have one system that can work for all of us and not leave here one day and 2 weeks later go down there and have a completely different system. And I think it's time that that discussion happens, because I understand that Linfield has already got a subcontractor for an electrician to put in a system, which is not ours, or not this one that we have now. So in order for us to be on the same page, I would ask the administration to bring them in and work on that, because the judges would like to see the system compatible as well, to be able to look at screens throughout. So it's something that I think warrants a little discussion before we even get to the point of no return, which I think we are not there yet. And I mean, the reason I bring this up is because the slab has not been poured and building's not built, and there's definitely time to change it, make this thing right. So I ask the administration to indulge in that. That's all I have, thank you.
Sullivan?
Yes, I just want to let my Bell-Chase colleagues know that if we're going to stay in this building after hours, after dark, I just received a text message that a snake was sighted in the parking lot. So we need to, I don't know how we, maybe we need to conclude these meetings before dark.
Well, you understand where you're located now. All right, the other thing, Mr. Russell states that somewhere next week, the following week, the slab will be pulled at the courthouse, so whatever has to be done expeditiously to get it done. And the tower will be removed, starting on the 20th. They're going to start removing the old tower, and that should take care of that. And therefore, once they pull that slab, then it's just going to take off. Because we don't have to go back in the ground, we don't have to wait on the rain to pump water, anything else out. It'd be soaring going up. That's all I have to add with that. Next item, please. Councilman Juneau, I'm sorry.
And yes, I would just like to tell the people that the gentleman that we used to call the Mayor Bellchase, Mr. Terrell Stevens, he's now in a home in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I'm just passing this on because to let you know he has been a faithful person at these meetings for years. And if y'all can add him in your prayers, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Next.
Is the timer?
Approval of the minutes from the August 24th, 2017 meeting.
Our offer has been seconded by Russell, Williams, H. Burke, and everybody else. Machine is over. It passes 9-0. It is 8:02. Council meeting is adjourned.